The meeting now.
Yep.
Right. Thank you all. Good evening. Thank you all members of public, councillors and officers who have come online to join today's virtual meeting. Please be aware that the council is recording this meeting and this will be uploaded to our YouTube channel. Can I please just ask that you all ensure you are muted at this point in time? We will then prompt speakers to unmute themselves one at a time. This is to ensure that we can all hear speakers clearly with minimal background noise. As chair, I will be leading today's meeting. The host, who is a council officer, will be providing the technical support and logistics to help the flow of the meeting. If you have any technical problems during the meeting, please use the chat function to flag this with the host. I would just like to take a few minutes to ensure all participants are set up accordingly. The host will now run through the names of participants and check that your audio and video is working. So please bear with us while this is done.
Okay, thanks, Nazish. I'll just go through quickly. So, councillors Mohammed and Rahnuma Haider, you can hear and we can see you. You can hear us all, see us all. Sorry, that's fine. Yeah, perfect. And Councillor Rutland. Yeah, wonderful. Councillor Liz and Phil Borman. Wonderful. Councillor Dunn. Yeah, you can see and hear. And we've got, just to introduce, we've got Karen Singleton, the RFO, in attendance as well. And Councillor Cash, you can hear us, yeah. And our Projects and Facilities Manager, Tony Jackson's online as well with us today in the Northern Lights. And Councillor Reid, you can see and hear, perfect. Councillor Argent, can you hear us? Yeah, wonderful. And Councillor Edson, perfect. Councillor Brown, wonderful. Councillor Webb, yeah, wonderful. Councillor Walraven, thank you. And Councillor Meek, brilliant. Councillor Adil, no, you can hear us. So Councillors Olivia and Richard Honeyman, fantastic. And Lucy Clark, our Finance Manager, is also here. So hi, Lucy. And Councillor Morland, can you hear us? Yeah, wonderful. And then we've got Christine Brett. So can you hear and see the proceedings? Perfect. And Penny, as a member of public, we can't see you. So I'm just going to, perhaps you could just unmute yourself and just say that you can hear us and see us. Penny, can you hear what's going on with the meeting? Sorry, Penny, are you there? Okay. And the third member of public named? Yeah. Okay, fantastic. Lovely. Thank you very much then. So I think we're good to go.
Good. Thank you. Anyone wishing to speak in public participation will be given the opportunity to do so. When prompted, if you are using video feed, please raise your hand to show you wish to speak. If you have only joined the video audio, please ensure you are unmuted and identify yourself that you are wishing to speak. I, as chair, will then prompt when it is your turn to speak. You will be given a maximum of 4 minutes to make your representation. Please state the agenda item which you will be speaking about. Through me as chair, council member or officers may then respond to your point if necessary. You will not automatically be able to reply unless I, as chair, allow you to do so. I would ask the participants looking to leave the meeting wait until the end of an agenda item to limit distractions for other participants. Anyone looking to rejoin partway through the meeting will join the Zoom waiting room and then be let into the meeting by the host at the next available point of meeting. I trust that all councillors have read the taking part in a Zoom meeting instructions. I would like to summarize some key points. As chair, I will lead the meeting through the agenda as normal. Councillors must still give apologies or make declarations of interest in the usual manner. Councillors wishing to speak should raise their hands in the video feed, and this will be noted down in order by the host. If you do not have video feed and audio only, please unmute yourself when prompted by the chair and state your name and that you are wishing to speak. Then mute yourself again until it is your time to speak. When voting, the host will call out names in order and councillors should respond with their vote. Please note that votes will not be a recorded vote unless requested by a councillor in the usual manner. To all present, please remember to show respect to others in the meeting and avoid interrupting where possible to enable others to follow the meeting. If any councillor feels concerned about any aspect of the meeting or discussion, please unmute yourself and clearly state point of order. The chair will then gesture for you to elaborate. Please do remember to check regularly that you are muted on your screen, as this will help hugely with the running of the meeting. Anyone present felt to be behaving unacceptably will be ejected from the meeting by the chair. Just a reminder to all that holding virtual meetings is a new approach for council, and therefore we will need to show patience and flexibility while we all get to grips with this meeting format. Thank you very much all for listening. We start our meeting as usual now. Agenda item number 1, apologies for absence.
Okay, we've
Georgia.
got 2 apologies, Chair. So we've got Councillor Everton for personal commitments and Councillor Lord as well.
Thank you. We move on to agenda item number 2, which is disclosure of interest. To deal with any disclosure by members of any disclosable pecuniary interest and interest other than pecuniary interest, as defined under the Seaford Town Council Code of Conduct and the Localism Act 2011, in relation to matters on the agenda. Anyone? Okay. Thank you. So there are no declarations or disclosures of interest. We move on to agenda item number 3, public participation. Participation to deal with any questions or brief representations from members of the public in accordance with Seaford Town Council policy and the localism authorities and police and crime panels, coronavirus flexibility of local authority and police and crime panel meetings, England and Wales regulations 2020. Over to you, Georgia.
Okay, I can see we've got Christine Brett here, so here we go.
Good evening, Madam Mayor and councillors. Thank you for letting me speak this evening. I need to speak to you about the coronavirus response. As you know, in the middle of March, I was called on by a former town councillor, Sarah McStravick, to help to revive the blood defence group that was set up by people about 5 years ago. And to cut a very long story short, we have ended up setting up a helpline, a phone helpline, which is actually supporting a great many residents in the town, over 1,000 of them. The Reverend Folks has just sent you an interim report about 10 minutes ago, which I expect that she will disseminate to the whole council. But on behalf of the group, I just want to say thank you for the support you've given us in the form of a grant. We've been incredibly fortunate. We've got support from lots of churches and lots of other organisations, and also from Lewis District Council. But we do appreciate your support as well, and also with sending out our materials. So thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Okay, any others for public participation? That might be it then. Back to you, Chair.
All right, thank you. We move on to agenda item number 4, 2021 annual meeting. To consider report 173/19 regarding the options available to the council and the 2021 annual meeting, that is from pages 7 to 11.
Would you like me, Chair, just to kind of give a brief
Yes,
overview
please.
then? Yep.
A little brief over that. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So really, the main meeting the main reason, sorry, for calling the meeting tonight, was as a result of the new regulations that were brought into force from the 4th of April. And the regulations, in short, basically have allowed for local authorities to hold meetings virtually, as we're doing tonight. And they've also removed the requirement for councils to have to hold annual meetings, but have also said that they are able to hold annual meetings if they wish to. And what that basically means is that we're now here tonight as a council to decide whether or not we'd like to go ahead with the annual meeting that is currently scheduled in for next Thursday. I've set out in the report the 3 options that are available to the council at this point in time. So really there's either we continue with the annual meeting, like I said, next Thursday. Second option is to postpone the annual meeting until a later date in the year. And what that would mean is that the current appointments, such as the mayor, deputy mayor, and committee membership and outside bodies, would continue until an annual meeting was held. Or the third option is to cancel 2020's annual meeting and just carry on with the appointments through till 2021. So we'd hold an annual meeting next May. So like I say, in the report, we've set out maybe some considerations against each of those 3 options, which hopefully councillors will have had a chance to look through. So I won't go through those because it would take quite a bit of time, but they are there in the report. The next section of the report really is just looking at covering Zoom and the fact that this is the meeting format that we're using. And then going on from that, there's a brief section talking about what other local authorities have decided to do with regards to their annual meeting. From what I've seen, it does seem like there's quite a split down the middle. Some town councils and parish councils have decided to postpone because that works for them, you know, kind of keep the continuity of business through till next year or later on this year. Other town councils are carrying on with their meetings virtually. And I think it's very much, you just have to assess what works best for your own authority, really. Moving on from that, I've just briefly made mention to the young mayor, because obviously that's usually something we do at an annual meeting as well, is facilitate the handover from young mayor to deputy young mayor. The plan this year is slightly different because we weren't able to hold elections to have a new deputy young mayor in place. So as I've put in the report there, in effect, they'll switch roles really. The current young mayor, James, will become the deputy, and Chanel, the deputy, will stand up as young mayor, which is quite nice that James will then be able to support Chanel over the coming year. Moving on from that, just briefly made mention again to the town forum, which technically is known as the annual parish meeting, but we tend to call it the town forum in Seaford. This was due to be held early May, but unfortunately the new regulations didn't make any provisions for us to be able to hold this virtually, which meant that it had to be cancelled. But I know that the officer team are looking at maybe doing some sort of virtual alternative event. So this would be an event that would allow for the mayor to give awards and the young mayor awards, and give the council a chance to just update the town on what it's been doing over the past year. And the final section of the report is just updating on meetings in general. So really that this is covering recommendation 2 of the report, which is asking for delegated power, or recommending delegated power to the proper officer in line with the, or in consultation, sorry, with the chair or committee chair, just to give a bit of flexibility with regards to the meeting timetable. So allow us to add in new meetings on the timetable if we need to over the coming months, or if we do feel like we need to change the dates of meetings, just to allow the proper officer and the relevant chair to agree that without having to do it kind of through a committee meeting each time. And just one final note that we're keeping the plans the same with the Planning and Highways Committee. So at the moment they're not meeting virtually, but what they're doing is the planning officer is consulting with the chair of planning and the committee by email on any planning applications that come in. And the intention is just to carry on that way rather than doing virtual meetings, mainly because at the moment I think the level of planning applications is quite low. But if there wasn't a consensus reached, or if there was anything that was felt to be quite controversial, we would look to arrange a virtual meeting. So I've just updated on that. But yeah, so now really it's over to councillors to make a decision on which option they'd like to go for regarding the annual meeting. Anyone?
Why would you meet? Do we have any order of
Sorry, Phil, have you?
speakers?
I'll just unmute you, Phil. Sorry, Councillor Borman.
Yeah, we're just querying whether we've got enough clear time if we did go ahead with this meeting. The 3 days notice, obviously being Fridays, is enough working days for it to be held next week on Thursday.
Sorry, Chair, through you. If the council agree to hold the annual meeting, we'd get the agenda out either today or tomorrow, and that would be fine. That would give you Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday as the 3 clear notice days.
Thanks. So,
Anyone else?
can I just propose that we held the annual meeting then, please? I need a second, thanks.
I think you've got a few seconders there. So Councillor Rutland as a seconder. So Chair, would you like me to go through the officers?
Yes,
go through the councillors, sorry, on that vote then. So the motion there was to hold the annual meeting next Thursday, the 21st of May. So I'll just run down through, and if you could just say for, against or abstain. So Councillor Adil?
For.
Councillor, sorry, I'm going to have to unmute you as I go, so it might take a bit longer. Councillor Argent?
Sorry, Georgia, sorry. No, people want to speak, I think. Sorry.
Well, that's what I wanted to know, but there was no raise of hands in the chat or something if somebody wanted to speak. Georgia, I think we did not get that through.
Okay.
Councillor Reid seems to be waving his hand.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah, well,
okay.
that's what I was. Sorry about
okay,
that.
so
We couldn't see anything. Or
the reason I asked to speak is I saw that Councillor Dunn had asked to speak. So I saw Councillor Dunn in the chat room asking to speak, which is why I was trying to get the attention to say Councillor Dunn wanted to speak. That was all.
oh, because she was muted and I couldn't see.
Okay, sorry. So we'll come back to the vote then. Sorry if you've got councillors wishing to speak. So
Yes.
we've got. So through you, Chair, should we? Councillor Dunn seems to be first, so I'll unmute.
Yes, please.
Councillor Dunn.
Councillor Dunn first.
Yes, good evening, Chair. Yeah, all I wanted to really say was regarding recommendation 2, if we do hold any of the other committee meetings, in usual circumstances, we can attend other committee meetings even if we're not on that committee. Can that still apply in this virtual way, that if there's a finance meeting or a community services meeting, or even planning for that matter, that we can actually attend if we contact you first, George as the Executive Officer, and make known that we'd like to attend the meeting even though we're not part of the committee? Is that possible?
Yep, so again, through you, Chair, sorry, yeah, so
Yes.
that would be absolutely fine. As normal, it would just be in a non-voting capacity. But yeah, there would be no problems at all. It would be an open meeting as we would be with a physical meeting, so that would be fine, yeah.
Thing is, with recommendation 2, it looks like it's only going to be down to possibly the Mayor, yourself, or the proper officer and chairs. It would be nice if councillors would like to have input into whether, you know, things that are decided or decision making if the committee goes ahead. That was why I was inquiring.
I think maybe that is with recommendation 2. So the recommendation there is not that the meeting is just held by the officer and the chair. It's that the meeting would be arranged. So the decision would be made by the proper officer and the relevant chair as to what date the meeting is held on, rather than making a decision in lieu of a meeting. Right,
so it's not necessarily to cancel meetings, it's whether what date go ahead and possibly move the dates around. That's what,
yeah.
Not very specific recommendation 2. It's a bit
okay.
Leading. It looks like it's just that it's to cancel the things.
I wonder if instead of to amend the scheduled meetings, we say to alter the dates of scheduled meetings or add to the adopted meeting timetable.
Yeah.
I'd like to propose that as an amendment to that.
Yeah, I mean, I'll second that. I don't know if the rest of the councillors are in agreement.
I second it.
Lovely. Okay.
Madam Chairman, just quickly, that's point 2 of the agenda, not this current bit that we're voting on, but Councillor Dunn's on about.
Yeah, I just wanted clarification on number 2.
Thank you.
Okay, I can see we've got councillors Olivia and Richard Honeyman have asked to speak. Was
Yes,
that on
yes.
this item? So on recommendation 1, was it? Yeah. So if I just unmute you, here we go. Sorry.
Thank you very much. We were trying to unmute and you were trying to mute us, so we were crossing each other over. Just to say about the annual meeting, that yes, to go ahead now, but hopefully that so Richard's typing across me.
Yeah, but it's quite important.
That we still have a virtual town forum meeting, so that Lizzie still gets to give her prizes and everything.
Yeah.
And her checks, because that's really important.
Yeah, again, if I may, Chair, just through you, just to come back on that, I know it was a real shame that we weren't able to hold the parish meeting and the event, because it is something, like you say, where the Mayor's Awards would normally be done, and the Young Mayor's Awards as well. And I know the Young Mayor was really keen. I think he'd already kind of had some ideas on who he would be giving them to. So definitely we'll be looking at how we can do that virtually. I know that the teams are already working on some different ideas for that. So we'll obviously get involved with the Mayor and with all the people that would usually be involved to try and get something virtual.
Okay.
Can I say something while I'm on? Can you see the message on the chat box? Can any motion we vote on, can it be on the shared screen, please, so we know exactly what we're voting on? Because it could be quite a few amendments. So thank you very much. I won't be voting until I see it on the shared screen. Thank you very much.
Again, Chair, through you then, so what I could do is I could type the motion into the chat function, into the chat box. That may be a quicker way than sharing my screen, if that's okay with everyone else. Chair, are you happy with that approach if I type the motion in?
Yes, that's all right.
Chat?
Yes, please go ahead.
Okay. I can see we've got Councillor Cash as well, looking to speak. So... Sorry, Councillor Cash, there we go.
Hi. Just a clarification of whether, if we go ahead with the meeting next week, you'll also be anticipating that we put the General Council meeting on the same night as well, which I'm a bit concerned about, because the last agenda was hugely long, wasn't it? And if we vote and do all the different things first, I think that's going to be a very long evening, and it worries me about how much is going to be on the agenda of the second meeting and whether it would be too long for us.
Okay, again, Chair, through you, if that's okay. So obviously there was a meeting scheduled, an ordinary council meeting for next Thursday as well. Due to workload commitments, it's not been possible to get the agenda pulled together for that meeting. And I think, like you said as well, the fact that we need to make sure we're not overloading councillors and kind of just this whole setup. The intention would be not to hold next week's ordinary council meeting, and hopefully kind of with recommendation 2 in place, it means that the proper officer can speak with the Mayor to arrange a date for another council meeting where we'll try and have a shortened agenda with just kind of the key vital bits of business that need to come to council.
Thank you.
Okay. And we've got just Councillor Edson as well.
Anyone else would like to speak then?
Yeah, it was just that we was referring to the committee meetings earlier on. And the planning committee is working very well because we've just got a few trickling in at the moment. There doesn't seem to be any controversial ones. So we're okay working via emails, but obviously the chair of the planning and the proper officer would decide if we needed a virtual meeting, if there were controversial planning decisions that needed to be made. I think we can handle it very well. We're doing all right as we are now. and all we need to do is just to wait for the dodgy one to come in, and then we can work on it accordingly.
Okay. Right, Georgia.
Okay. So should we go for the vote?
Motion now?
Sorry, yep, so type it. So we'll do it one at a time then, and I'll type in. Sorry, it's going to take a few seconds just to type this in then. I apologise in advance for any typos. So there's the motion in the chat. Just to confirm that the other business as normal refers to the items that we would usually hold at an annual meeting in standing orders. So it's under standing order 5J, and then there's a few points underneath that. So that refers to, I've got it here, sorry. That refers to, so the committee membership, appointment of members to existing committees and appointment of any new committees, representation of work with outside bodies, and a review of the fixed asset register and confirmation of arrangements for insurance cover, and then finally a review of the annual subscriptions that the council has as well. So that's what that section refers to. Okay. So if you're happy, Chair, then I'll go through the councillors one by one on that motion then.
Councillor Jean Cash wants to speak.
Oh, sorry, yeah.
Georgia, will we need our reports back on the outside bodies that we've been allocated to for that meeting?
I would say no. I've drafted the report. I did that report a little while ago, just kind of getting ready for this meeting. And part of that report, I've said in it that I feel it'd be better to hold that at a later date, because I think at the moment we're not sure kind of what's happening with outside bodies under current circumstances. So there's no pressing need to have those reports back, I would say, for that meeting.
Thank you.
Okay, so if you're all right then, Chair, I'll go through and take the votes on that motion that's held, or that's in the chat box, sorry. What I'm going to do, just for ease with myself, is just unmute you all at once, rather than go through and have to unmute you and then mute you again. Okay, so if you could just say for, against or abstain for the motion that's there in the chat. So Councillor Adele?
For.
Councillor Argent?
For.
Councillor Liz Borman?
For.
Councillor Phil Borman?
For.
Councillor Brown?
That's all right.
Just for those that can't see, that was a 4 from Councillor Brown. Councillor Cash?
4.
Councillor Dunn?
4.
Councillor Edson?
4.
Councillor Ali Haider?
4.
And Councillor Rathnuma Haider?
4.
Councillor Olivia Honeyman?
4.
Councillor Richard Honeyman?
4.
Councillor Meek?
4.
Councillor Morland?
4.
Councillor Reid?
4.
Councillor Rutland?
4.
Councillor Walraven?
4.
And Councillor Webb?
4.
Lovely. So that's a unanimous 4. Thank you. Right, I'm just going to mute you all again, just quickly, sorry. There we go. So if you're happy, Chair, should we move on to the second recommendation?
Second recommendation. I will just read it out. The second recommendation reads out as delegate power to the proper officer in consultation with the mayor or relevant committee chair to amend the scheduled meeting within the council's adopted meeting timetable as deemed necessary until physical meetings are recommenced. Yes, for councillors to speak, please.
Okay, and Councillor Honeyman, did you still want me to type that in the chat box so you can see exactly what it is, or are you happy with it verbally?
Oh, hi there. Can I just speak? Yeah. Yes, I mean, there's obviously 3 options, and I don't know if any of them are going to be amended. I don't know if we have to be go for one of those 3 options, or we're going to be voting on each one of them, or they're going to be amended. So if they get amended, can you obviously type out what's been amended? That would be fantastic. Thank you.
Okay, Chair, I'll just type in the motion so it's in the chat screen so people can see exactly what it is then. Again, I will go as quick as I can. And next time we have a meeting, I'll make sure to type them up in advance. There's nothing like typing under pressure. Right, here we go. So the motion being moved is in the chat box, just with the clarification that we talked about with Councillor Dunn. So just to make it clear that it's altering the date of the scheduled meetings within and adding to the council's adopted meeting timetable. So if you're happy, Chair, then I'll just run through each councillor again. So again, if you could just say for, against or abstain for that motion in the chat box. So Councillor Adele.
For.
Councillor Argent.
For.
Councillor Liz Borman.
For.
Councillor Phil Borman.
For.
Councillor Brown.
For. I'd like to see a slight amendment there, the proper officer or the executive support officer. We don't have a proper officer at the moment, and the deputy is not well. That could leave us in a bit of trouble.
If I may, Chair, sorry, just quickly. So we do have our acting proper officer at the moment who's just currently on leave this week, so is back next week. So, I mean, I think I would say that the recommendation is fine with the wording as it is, but obviously if you want to propose that as an amendment, we can do that.
Don't know.
Well, I would like to propose it's an amendment if you don't mind.
Okay, I will. I guess, does that find a seconder first? Sorry.
Anybody want to second it? No.
Okay, so Chair, as that hasn't found a seconder, then I will carry on through the vote then, if that's okay with you.
Yes, please.
So we've got to Councillor Brown. For, again, for, okay. And Councillor Cash.
For.
Councillor Dunn.
For.
Councillor Edson.
For.
Councillor Ali Hayder.
For.
Thank you. Councillor Rathnuma Hader.
4.
Councillor Olivia Honeyman.
4.
Councillor Richard Honeyman.
4.
Councillor Meek.
4.
Councillor Morland.
4.
Councillor Reid.
4.
Councillor Rutland.
4.
Councillor Walraven.
4.
And Councillor Webb.
4.
Lovely, so that's a unanimous 4 again, thank you. So back to you then, Chair.
Yes, thank you very much. Thank you everyone for your participation. It really went well, and we did have a good time as well. It was my first experience sharing a meeting through Zoom, but I think it is going to be a good practice if we carry on until we meet physically. Very lovely to see you all, and thank you very much again for participating, and the members of the public who participated. Thank you all the officers who have contributed and made this happen for us. And I just declare the meeting closed then.
Thank you.
Thank you again.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Bye.
Well done, Georgia.
Thank you. Well done, everyone. Well done, Nazish.
Well done, Aziz.
See you all next week.
Nadia and Nadesh and all of it.